Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will mainly talk about advanced SQL from chapter 7, but before that, we'll introduce you with the database keys from chapter 6. So we'll talk about, first we are going to talk about keys. So far we have shown you that how to create tables in a database. And for a good database design, each table should have a primary key. And some of the characteristics of primary key is the primary key must have a value, and that value must never change, and that value must be unique for every record. So for example, if you're creating a user database, right? Or suppose you are creating a bank database where you have a table for the customers. So that table will have multiple fields. What should be the primary key in that case? Name? Probably not, right? Because multiple customers may have the same name. If it's in US, you can use social security number as a primary key, right? Because social security number is unique, it always has a value, and the value won't change. So that is the first thing. Each table should have a primary key. And then there is another concept called foreign key for a table. A foreign key is a primary key value from table A stored in the related table B. So suppose the bank has another table, the bank database has another table for account information. So each account belongs to one customer, right? In that case, the account table can have a field called customer ID, and that customer ID field in the accounts table would be what? It would be a foreign key, because this customer ID actually belongs to customer table, but in the accounts table, it's a foreign key. So foreign key is a primary key value from table A stored in the related table B. And primary and foreign key should almost always be unsigned integers. That's another good practice. So we will show you examples with primary key and foreign key. Next is another database concept, that is index. So you can, if I explain very in a short, concise form, indexes are like, you can think them as hash. Suppose if you are looking for a if you are trying to fetch some data from your database, suppose you are looking for a account information belonging to a set of customers or other things. In that case, sometimes the query might be inefficient, in the sense that there might be thousands of accounts records, right? So once you actually do a select statement, run a select statement to fetch some records, in that case what may happen is uh, this query may get executed by checking each row, and then finally trying to find which row matches your criteria. So it's a time consuming thing. But suppose if you have some kind of hash function, right? Hash function means if you have some kind of index, in that case, once you give the query, that query itself will, using the hash function, it will actually turn to an index, and immediately you can go to that index, that means that row, and fetch that row, right? So index is kind of you can think like a hash function, This is used to make your database select statements very efficient, so that whenever you read from the table, you, instead of reading each record to find the exact record you want, you just directly go to that record and fetch it. So creating indexes actually improve the performance of the select queries, you know, but it hurts the performance of insert and update queries. The reason is, once you insert something new, right, that row doesn't have any index yet. So you have to calculate the index and put it in the database. So the calculation of the index itself takes time. Same as the update. Once you do an update to a row, the previous index no longer works, because the index is based on the, if you think it as the index as a hash function, if the data in the row itself changes, the value of the hash function also changes, right? In that case, you have to change the index. So you have to recalculate the index. So it's better to have index in those databases where you do more read operation, that means do more select operations than insert and update operations. So for creating index, these are some of the rules that you need to be careful. Don't index columns, because if you index columns, that allows for null values that have a very limited range of values. And so always do the index using like multiple columns, right? Multiple columns. In that case, you are creating a kind of a hash function of multiple columns. And do index columns where used in where clauses, used in order by clauses, and used in joins. Why? Because suppose you have again, with the bank database, very carefully think about it. So for the bank database, suppose you want to create an index from the um, from in the accounts table, right? So your index should be created out of multiple columns, first name, suppose last name, and account number, so that you can actually use all three of them to create one hash, and internally database will actually handle it for it. Once you tell the database that I want to make an index out of these three columns, it will create a hash and it will create some kind of index internally and save it in the table. Next time when you actually look for the account number, uh, and if you look for the account number and the account owner ID, that is in the where clause, right? So you say if select account where account number is this and the account uh, first name is this and last name is this. In that case, now that hash function will be recalculated and directly will go to that index, which is already saved in the database. So these are two very good practices. First of all, do index based on the columns which are used in where clauses, or used in ordered by clauses, and used in joins. We haven't talked about joins yet. We are going to talk about it from the next slide. And do not make the index column uh, out of just columns, because that out of a single column, because that allows for null values that have very limited range of values. Next, we are going to talk about joins. So far we have shown you, when we showed you different examples in PHP and other things, we have showed you, we created tables in the database, we updated them, inserted new information there, we fetched information from there, but we never actually used multiple tables to do something, right? So we every time we did the operation on a single table. But what if we want to create some information that is based on multiple tables? So A SQL query that uses two or more tables produces a new virtual table of results is called joins. There are two types of joins. First of all, inner join and then the outer join. And usually we use the primary key and foreign key column as the basis of the join. We'll soon explain why. So yeah, let me show you what is the difference between the inner join and outer join. Okay, so let me show it here. So basically, you know that joins are actually, if you want to use two tables or more than two tables to uh, fetch a set of information. Okay, so this Venn diagram would show you like a very good idea what outer join and inner joins are. So inner join is like you have two tables, both of them have some set of information, and then once you do the inner join, it actually gives you the intersection of the data. That means the data that matches both the tables. Okay, and as we said that we should do joins on primary key and foreign key, right? So um, suppose we want to do an inner join for what? For we say like find all the accounts for the customer whose name is Bill Clinton. So what can we do then? We have two tables. One is for the bank customers, and then there is another table which is for the account numbers. As we said, the customer table would have primary key. Yeah, instead of Bill Clinton, let's say find all the account numbers for the social security number. This. So now you Uh, okay, that's also not a very good example. Okay, let me show you one example. Before that, let's just keep on explaining what inner join is. So inner join is like once you do a inner join of two tables, it will return the data that is common in both the tables. Left join is okay. Then there comes the outer join. There are three kinds of outer join, which is left outer join, right outer join, and full outer join. Left outer join is it returns the all the data from the left table and also uh, the data that matches the right table. So suppose your left table has like 10 rows of information, and then out of that like three of them matches the right table. So once you do the left join, you will see all the records that is in the left table as well as the records that matches the right table. Okay. An example will actually make it clearer. Right join is it will return all the records in the right table as well as the ones that matches the left table. So not everything from left table, just the ones that match the right table. And full outer join, actually MySQL doesn't support full outer join. So let's not think about it. But okay. So let me show you example. We'll do inner join from two tables. Okay, let me go to the database. Already I have some tables in the database. So there is one table called forum, a database called forum. By the way, to practice all these, inside that SQL file for creating all databases and tables, go there, download this file and load it. Either you can load it from the interface, or better, what you can do is this is the file actually. I opened it here. To open the file, make sure that you download Notepad++, because there is some foreign characters, like not everything is in English. There is other characters, Japanese and other characters. So you can see them if you are using Notepad or Note or WordPad. So download Notepad++ and then open the file that is already uploaded in your Blackboard. And if you see there, you will see the databases, the forum database. So this is from chapter 6. Forum database is here, and it has tables, forums, uh, uh, messages, users. Okay, so you can just copy them and run so you can just do this thing. You can just copy from here, then tables, create another table, this, okay, and then just run it in your here. Go to the server and then SQL and run it here. So the database will be formed, the tables will be formed. And to insert data into the table, you still have instructions also here. So just to put some initial data. So you see insert into the forums, insert into the users, and then do some other operations, select from forums. Okay, yeah. So you can run these to fill up your tables. Similarly, there are other databases. I have another database called Forum 2, so which is from chapter 17. For this one, you can also create the database, create the tables, and insert data into the tables. And finally, I'm going to show you the third database, which is banking database. Yeah, create database banking. So this is after the forums tables in the same chapter. So create database banking, create table in that database, create accounts, yeah, and then you can insert some data into the banking database. So I have shared this thing. Do this thing in your own machine. Download this file. Instead of just copying and pasting, just spend a few minutes to see how are actually you are creating the database, what is going into each of the tables, and then how are you filling it up. Okay, look at it. Okay, so I already have the data in my local database. So let's see here. Uh, I have users. You see there are like 5 users, right? Then I have messages. Okay, so this one is like different. So this is a forum database, right? So some kind of forum like Facebook, and these are the posts that the users have made. So the messages, uh, the messages table contains all the posts that the users have posted, and the body has the text of the post, and then there is you see that each post has a user ID. That means it identifies which user has posted it, and then the subject, there is some subject on it, uh, depending on the post, and then finally there is some forums like here. Yes, finally there is the forums. So there are multiple forums. So since this is suppose you can think it as a forum, there are suppose multiple forums, CSS, HTML, more modern dance, PHP. So you can think it as a like different discussion sections in the forum. Some people want to discuss about CSS, some want to discuss about PHP. So in once you go, suppose you want to create a discussion or post something about PHP. So you go to the PHP forum and then you post a message, right? You post a message here. What will happen is a new entry will be created with your user ID, and then and the forum ID will be whatever matches the PHP forum, right? So each message is posted by one user and in a particular forum. Okay. So basically we have three tables, and these three tables are related. The relation is uh, each message belongs to one forum and it is posted by one user, right? So based on this, now we can actually link up something, because there is relation in between these three tables. So we are going to do this thing. We are going to use, okay, select. This is a format. Very carefully look at it. How to do inner join. As we said, inner join, what's inner join is going to do? What inner join is going to do is it's going to fetch you the intersection of the data between the two tables, right? So there should be a full match. Okay, so select m dot message ID, m dot subject, and f dot name. So that means we are fetching three columns, but these three columns are not coming from the same table. These are coming from two different tables. You see here, the first table's alias is m, and the second table's alias is f, right? So what is m and what is f? So select column 1, column 2, column 3 from messages, and then as from messages as m. So that means m is the alias for messages. Inner join. So I am joining messages table. You see here, messages, inner join forums. So two tables. I'm joining two tables, forums and messages. And how I am doing it? I'm doing an inner join, right? Okay, so I'm doing an inner join between the messages table and the forums table, and giving the messages table an alias of m, and the forum table an alias of f. And then once I actually join them, they will now look at as a single virtual table. From there, what I'm doing, I'm selecting message ID from the first table, subject from the first table, and name from the second table. From I do the inner join on this, on m dot forum ID equals to f dot forum ID, where f dot name is MySQL. Okay, so inner join returns all the records from the table wherever match is made. So you have to have a match between the two things. So where are you actually doing the match? You see here, the forum ID. You know that the messages and the forum name both have a forum ID, right? Okay, so you see here, like each message is posted in a forum, right? There is a forum ID. And then the forums also have like forum ID. So my criteria here of inner join is my forum ID from the first table and the forum ID from the second tables has to match. That's the first thing. Where forum name is MySQL. So that means if you see here, uh, first table knows that how to find MySQL, right? So it gets MySQL and then it gets the forum ID 1. Now the second, okay, this is actually the second table. So if you see here, where for, so this is the second table, right? F dot name is MySQL. F dot name is MySQL, right? Now what are we going to match? We are going to match the forum ID. So forum ID is 1, right? So we go to messages and we will look for all the forum IDs that have 1. So these first 4, this one, these have the forum IDs of 1. So we want to, and then now we know that this row, this row, this row, this one and this one matches, right? And then now now we want to create a virtual table which have not all the information from both the tables. What informations we want? We want just the message ID, subject from the message table, and forum.name. So basically subject, message ID, right? So these 2 columns, and forum.name, these 3. So these 3 will actually now create the new virtual table. Okay, so let's take another look here. Select so m dot message ID, m dot subject, f dot name. M means the messages table, F means the forum table, right? So we select these 3 columns from 2 tables. What we are doing is we are doing an inner join between these 2 tables. Based on what? Based on if their forum IDs match, where the f dot name, that means the name from the second table, is MySQL. If we run this, let's see what happens. So we go to forum database, do a SQL, right? So we are inside the forum database already. So if we run this, now you see that message ID, subject, these 2 came from where? These 2 came from the messages table, and the name, this one came from the forums table, right? And now you have a new virtual table of records that is actually created after you have done the inner join of forums and messages, right? Okay, so if you remember, we said that the joins normally use the primary key and the foreign key columns as the basis of join. So this is the basis of join, using the on clause. On, so something, it has to match based on something which matches in both tables. So what is that something that matches in both tables? It must be some primary key or foreign key, right? Otherwise, like, primary key is unique in one table and foreign key is the representation of the primary keys in another table. So that's why we say, like, when we do join, usually we do join based on the primary key and the foreign key. Okay, so we have shown you the example of the inner join. So once you do the inner join, it finds all the records from the MySQL, all the messages that are posted in the MySQL forum, right? And it grabs the message IDs as well. Do this practice. Make sure you do this practice, because this is very important. Whatever I show you in the class, to practice it in the yourself, because I reminded multiple times to practice whatever I have shown you in the class to do good in the exam. But what I saw from the exam, I haven't done grading all of them. What I saw is many didn't pay heed. Probably you just went through the text and there's the theoretical part, but didn't do the practice. Because of that, in the part that needed some practical knowledge, many of you failed miserably. So this is one last chance for you to do good. And also I have provided some bonus points. So just take advantage of it. Do the practice that I am showing you today, and try to understand how all of these inner joins and other things are working, whatever I'm discussing, and that will actually really help you to do good in the exam. Okay, so I have shown you an example of the inner join. Next is outer join. Uh, Outer join also returns records that don't match. There are three types. We already discussed: left, right, and full. Um, and we said full is not supported by MySQL. The order in which the tables are listed matter in left and right outer join. And if we go here, sorry, we know that when we do the left outer join, it will return everything from the left table uh, and the matches from the right table, right? Matches from the right table. If we do the right join, it will return everything from the right table and whatever matches the left table. Let me show you one example that will actually clear up things. Okay, so let's do this. We are doing an outer join. Okay, so as we said, um, the left join and right join. Okay, so select. So we are doing what? We are doing this. We are taking the forums table and the messages table, doing a left join. Okay, so since you are doing the left join and the forums table is on the left, right? So it's going to return everything from forum table and whatever matches in the message table. Okay, select f dot star. That means all the columns from the forum table and just one column, that is subject, m dot subject from the message table, from forums as f, and then left join messages as m. So that means you are putting two aliases, f and m, so that you can use the aliases easily, right? What is the criteria? On f dot forum id equals to m dot forum id. So the IDs, like the forum IDs in the forum table and the message table, has to match. Okay, if we run this, you see, um, we got this virtual table, right? Forum ID, this one came from the forum table. Name, this one also came from the forum table. This forum table had like two columns, right? And then the subject came from the message table. So you see that everything from the forum table is here. Now, very carefully look at this thing. Like modern dance, this one, the subject is null. For every other thing, there is something, right? Why is that? Okay, so if we go to the forum table and message table, we'll understand why this is happening. But remember, this is left join. That means we are going to show everything from the forum table, which is on the left, and whatever matches in the right table, right? But in this case, there was no match, right? So this one was filled with null. So that means we showed everything in the left table and whatever matches in the right table. So in this case, these were the matches. We showed them, but in case of when the forum name was Modern Dance, there was no no message. So there was no match. Okay, so that's why this is left outer join. You show everything from the left table. On the right table, you show the matches. If there is no match, you fill it up with null. Okay, so let's go to the forums. So the forums table have like 7 forums, right? Yeah, 7 forums, each have a forum ID. Okay. The message table has like multiple messages, many messages. Each of them have a forum ID. So our left outer join was based on the forum ID. So what's happening here? Let's see. Whenever you get the forum ID, you match it against this, right? So if the forum ID is 1, 1 is like MySQL. Okay, so the forum table is our left table, and we are doing left join. So immediately forum ID 1 and MySQL will be appended with the subject, questions about normalization. Again, then from the second record, 1, the forum ID, 1 is the forum ID, forum name is MySQL, and then database design subject, this one is put there. 1 MySQL database design, 1 MySQL again database design, right? And then 2, what is the forum name there? I don't know. Whatever is that. Okay, for 2, the forum name is going to be PHP. So this record will look like 2 PHP errors, 2 PHP errors. Again, here 2 PHP dynamic HTML and PHP, right? So you see there are like many messages here, but what's missing is, you see here, this is a list of all messages. There is no forum ID 7. If you carefully look at here, no forum ID 7, right? There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means there is no messages posted in the forum 7. But since we are doing the left join, we have to show everything that is in the left table, right? So even for the forum ID 7, modern dance, even there is no message, we still have to show it in the right. So we have to have it in the result. So that's why this happened. Like, so you see that for every message there was a match of forum ID and forum name, right? But for forum ID 7, there was no match. So there was no messages. But since this was a left join, remember this, since this was a left join, and once we said left join, we kept the forums table in the left, right? So that means whatever is in the forums table has to be in the resultant table. And that's why there was an entry created for the forum number 7, that is modern dances, but it didn't have any message in it, so that one became null. So this is left join. Let me show you examples now from the other join. Okay, what will happen if I do right join? Okay, now what will happen is everything that is in the right table, that's a message table, would be shown, right? Um, okay, so to do that, I think the best would be if I add a new, you'll see the better result if I add a new, or let's do it here. I think it would be the same thing. Let's show you one example here. Yeah, you can go to this page and uh, do some exercise. So SQL right join. Yeah, this is also a good way to do exercise. So here is two databases. First one is the orders table, and the second one is the employees table. Okay, so then orders table has the order ID, customer ID, employee ID, order date, and shipper ID. Okay, and the employees table has the employee ID, last name, first name, birth, date, photo. So that means the employee ID, this is the primary key here in the employee table, and this is the foreign key. So the primary key in one table is foreign key in another table, right? It's a foreign key here. Okay, so maybe we are going to do some join based on the employee ID. So we're doing a right join here. We want the order ID from the orders table, employee last name, employee first name from orders. Right join. Okay, so the right join is here. So we're doing a right join here. Orders right join employees. That means everything that comes from the employees would be there, and then the ones that match in orders would be there. Where the employee IDs match, order by the orders dot order ID. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so it looks like these order tables was pretty big. Okay, so if we look here, so basically this one wasn't a very good example. The reason I'm telling you is, suppose there was some employee, right, which didn't have any orders to him. So some employee who didn't have any orders. So it looks like here all the employees have some orders or something. We are not seeing the whole table here. So this is not one example. Just very carefully look at this. If there was an employee who didn't have any orders, so since you are doing the right join and employee table is on the right and orders table is on the left. So since we are doing the right join, what do we have to do? We have to show all the records from the employee ID. and the matching records from the what? From the orders table, right? So that's what you are seeing here. You are seeing the uh, employee name, first name, last name, and their matching records. What would have happened if there was an employee which doesn't have any order? Since you are doing the right join and this is the right table, right? In that case, you also had to create an entry which has the last name and first name of that employee. But since he didn't have any orders, that would have been null. So it would have looked like null. Suppose the employee is myself, Mehrab Shahriar. Okay. So is it clear to you now that since you are doing the right join, if your right table has something that doesn't match in the left table, still you have to create a record for that and fill that unmatched thing with null. So that's because this is a right join, right? Okay. So what you can do once you do the practice, do this thing. Um, in this, this is the messages, right? Messages table. So um, create a message here. So insert into this, like it's not difficult. So insert. Yeah, you can just put a message ID. What is message ID, parent ID? Let's do here. Go here, see. Message ID, parent ID, username, subject, body. Okay. Or you can just insert using okay, let's put one row. I don't know what this is. Forum ID is like 8 or make it 9. User ID is 2. Subject is test, and the body is test message. Let's see what happens here. I have actually tried to put a forum ID that is not uh, present in the forums table. Date, I keep the date. Um, so what is, okay, duplicate entry key for primary. I see. Oh, message ID cannot be 1 again. So this is, the message ID is the primary key. And you see that I cannot have a duplicate value. So I have to create a new message here. Say 500. I hope there is no message ID with 500. Okay, now I have one row has inserted. The better way was just writing like this. Okay, so let's go to the messages table now. You see I have created one thing like this, right? Now I have a forum ID 9, which doesn't exist here. Now if I do a write, yeah, so let's go to the forums messages table first. Now here you see how many records we have. We have like, maybe we have like 64 records. Each of them, each of these messages come in a particular forum, right? So first 63 will match some forum, but the last one won't match any forum. And then what I'm going to do is I am trying to do a right join. So that means I want everything from the messages table, and the matching things from the forum table. Okay, so first 63 records from the messages table will have some matching in the forums table, but the last record won't have anything matched. But still I have to create an entry for the last record because I'm doing a right join. A right join means whatever is the right table, which is the messages table. All the records from the messages table has to be in the result. Okay. Okay, so for each message there is a subject and it has a matching forum. We're doing this. And you see now you see this one, right? The last one, the last message has the subject what? Test, right? But against that there was in the left table there was no forum, right? So there was no forum name, there was no forum ID, and you see because I did a right join, I made sure that I have everything from my right table, that is the messages table, and then whenever there was a match, I picked the matches, but then there was whenever there was no match, it became null, right? So I hope the right join is also now clear to you. Do this practice. Yeah, and once again, I'm reminding you, just download the file, create the tables, insert data into it, do practice on inner join, right join, left join. Uh, yeah, and try to understand. I try to explain as much as possible, but once you do the practice, you will have the like total understanding of what's happening. And also, like here in my query, I had just selected maybe one column. You can just increase the number of columns and other things to see what happens, right? So I have just selected the subject column. You could just put m dot whatever it is, like m dot messages or something, right? The other columns as well. Yeah, you could take the body and other things, whatever it is. Okay, so let's go back to our slide again. Finally, okay, next let's do this thing. You can do join on 3 tables. How do you do that? So we are going to our forum database again, SQL. So first you see that we are doing an inner join between the messages table and the users table, right? So from there we are taking the username and subject. Okay, here is another thing. So far we had used on, right? So we said on, but if the column names exactly match, in that case you can use using. So instead of using, we could say like on u dot user ID. You see it shows you that this is the primary key, right? Equals to m dot user ID, right? We could do this, but you see that both the tables have this column with the same name. If that's the case, instead of on, you can just use using user ID. So it will automatically understand that these user IDs both in users and the messages. Okay, so the first part, for the first part, we are doing an inner join of users and messages. And this will give you what? Username and subject. And then you are doing the second inner join. So this one, if you just think partially, this one will give you a partial table with two inner joins. And then with that partial table, you are doing another inner join with the third table, forums, right? So this one will now give you, okay, based on forum ID. Okay, so let's do this thing. Suppose if we had just two tables joined, how this would have looked. So username and subject, right? This is how it would have looked. So remember this thing. So basically, when you are doing the second inner join, so this is the result of the first inner join, that is joining two tables. Now you are doing a second inner join with this table and what table? The forums table, right? Okay, so let's go here. Yeah, so this is your first inner join. This one will return whatever I showed you, right? And then you are doing an inner join with forums again using the forum ID, because once you do the inner join of the first table and the second table, that will have a forum ID as well, and your forum name also have a forum ID. Now we are doing an inner join with, so this gave you a result I just already showed you. With that table, you do a inner join with the forums table, so second level of join, and then you order by the date. So order by means you just do a sorting and take only 5 results. Okay, so let's do this. Yeah, now you see. So basically, what did we do? First two tables when we joined, we got something like this, right? Just first two columns I just showed you. Then you did another inner join with it, again as a forums table. Now you get the forum name as well. So this is the resultant of 3 tables joined. Okay. Yep. Um, Next, grouping of results. So there are built-in functions to group your results. Um, so suppose let's do these examples. This is from another database, that is the banking database. So how do we get this? Go to this file that I shared in the Blackboard. Create a database, banking, create tables with customers, accounts, and transactions. Okay, and then insert into customer some values, insert into account some values. Yep. Okay, so now your customer has some values like first name, last name. The account has values. So once you actually run all these queries, you will see something like this. So you will have a new database, banking, you will have accounts, right? Then you have customers. This one is empty, still not. Okay, so let's go inside here. Let's just run this. So average balance, you see that the accounts table had like balance information, how much balance is in each account, and you can just take the AVG, average, and that will actually return the average of all the records that you have in accounts. So the average here is like 232,306. Okay, then you can do this, say this, Select max balance, min balance from accounts. Okay, so the max balance is 909,325 and the min balance is 892. So your accounts table have different account values for different accounts, and the maximum account has number of dollars, and the minimum balance account has $892 of it. And finally, you want to see like how many accounts you have in your bank. So the function for that is count. Select count star from accounts. That means count the all number of rows. How many rows you have? You have total 12 rows. Okay, so we learned average, max, mean, and count. So this is doing some grouping on your information. So here was your account information, right? You had balance. You just wanted to do a grouped information. What is the average of all these? What is the max of all these? What is the mean of all these, right? How many records I have or accounts I have? Okay. So these are the grouping functions: average, count, max, mean, sum. You could also sum all the money. Um, Next, let's do this thing. So this is okay. So the first query does it counts uh, the distinct customer ID from account. So how many customers you have? Previously, we just counted how many records we have in our accounts, right? But how many customers you have? One customer can have multiple accounts. So you cannot say that we have 12 customers, right? So that's why we use this distinct customer ID from account. So this will return how many customers you have. So we had only 3 customers having all those 12 accounts. And then you want to see the average balance of each customer, right? So select average balance and then customer ID from accounts group by customer ID. So for each customer, you group them and then do an average, right? So select average balance customer ID. It will show you the average balance on the customer ID and it will group by the customer ID. So first you are grouping them and then taking the average of the group. So the first customer may have like 3 accounts. You are grouping all those 3 and then taking the average of that 3. Okay, now you see the customer 1 has this average, 2 has this average, and 3 has this average. So 3 has just 1 account. If I go to the accounts, yeah, okay, 3 has not only 1 account, it has like 3 accounts, but all of them have like 892. Okay, so next one is advanced selections. So you say like select if gender is M, you replace it with male, and if the gender is female, you replace it with female. So let's go, and this is from people database table. Where is the people table? Is it here? No, it's not here. Okay, I don't know where this is. Let's search here. Looks like it's not here. Okay, anyways, we can just look at it here. Look at this file if the people table is inserted or not. Otherwise, it looks like there is a table called people where the gender is marked as M or F. Now you want to see what genders are there. So you do an if. You say like if the gender is M, you want the result to be shown as male. Otherwise, you want to show the result as female. Okay, from people. So what is the thing, like what's going to happen here is, suppose you may have a third gender, right? So it will actually put the third gender in female because you are just uh, aliasing the M with male and everything else with female. So the third gender will go into the female.